This evening today is a three-pronged evening. It's one wherein we celebrate 15 years of spatial transformation with the Municipal Demarcations Board. It's one wherein we bid farewell to our outgoing board. And it's also one wherein we welcome the new board that's been appointed to the MDB. Please put your hands together for our outgoing board chairperson, Ms. Nomdumiso Kwai.
As you know, we're currently in the country celebrating 20 years of democracy. Well, the Demarcation Board is celebrating 15 years of spatial transformation within that 20 years. And so the first board, which was established on the 1st of February 1999, as one can imagine, there were numerous disputes around boundaries and because, amongst others, of political volatility. So the main objective facing the board at the time was the rationalization of municipalities. So the highlights of that period were the rationalization of municipalities from 843 to 284 with 6 metro municipalities, 47 DMs and 231 LMs. And they also determined district management areas. Now the second board from 2004 to 2009, and their highlights were they categorized 2 more municipalities, and that took us to 8 metros and 44 district municipalities and 226 local municipalities. Now the third board, what they did was to rationalize the municipalities further from the 278 to 267. So they added an additional metro, they subtracted a district municipality, and now after the rationalization we are left with 215 from the 226 local municipalities. So what they did was to focus on enhanced consultation, stakeholder empowerment, participatory democracy, developing policies for the 2 main core functions, which are boundary determination and ward delimitation, and partnerships and learning networks and proactive approach, and social media to extend our reach. And they also translated various documents into the languages of South Africa to ensure, again, access. Ladies and gentlemen, we certainly have a good story to tell. The MDB is making a formidable contribution to the realization of a responsive, accountable, effective, and efficient local government system through spatial transformation and re-engineering. I know that the new board will take this baton and run with it.
That ladies and gentlemen, dames and herren, please put your hands together for the one and only Utatulandiwe Mahlangu.
I think for me, it gives me a great pleasure. And indeed, it's an honor that I've been given an opportunity to reflect and speak on behalf of what we like to call as the third board. And I wish this evening to pay a special tribute to one of the members that actually passed on, board member Grace Castle. From the very beginning when the board started, we as a board took a view that we can no longer claim the monopoly of knowing of all about the demarcation matters. We were convinced that the element that was missing is the very people or the very objects upon which the demarcation processes were actually directed. To have legislative powers and mandate of the board, while it was necessary, but it was certainly by no means sufficient. And our view has been that for the board to be able to actually perform its work effectively, it needed to earn its respect rather than be decreed upon it. We then commissioned a number of studies precisely to explain to ourselves and indeed to actually use it as an instrument to actually dialogue with our stakeholders the criteria of the board. What exactly does the criteria mean? But we also relook at some of the products of the board, and these also included the capacity assessment. We have viewed the capacity assessment as the centerpiece of our advisory services. And the work of the board should really be seen as fulfilling 4 objectives. And one is to advance the spatial transformation and to achieve spatial justice. That's a term that the NDP is using. We also see the role of the board as to effect integration through, amongst other things, creating wall-to-wall municipalities. Certainly the focus of The third board was to deepen local democracy or democratization of our local government by actually contributing towards the delimitation of wards to ensure that there is electoral quality. All of this must enable us to actually reach the goal of developmental local government. When we talk of independence of the board, for us purely means being impartial, being objective, and really being able to execute our work without favor, fear, and prejudice. And what is incontrovertible, though, is that the minister responsible for local government, Cocta in this instance, is vested with a number of powers in terms of the Demarcation Act. And this has been very clear, particularly when it regards to the appointments of the board members. To my fellow former board members, I wish to say that it was a journey, I think, worth taking. This board has interacted far beyond its statutory stakeholders. It has also interacted with non-statutory stakeholders. With those few words, Program Director, Minister, and the Deputy Minister, I thank you very much.
It gives me now great pleasure to welcome to the stage the Deputy Minister for Cooperative Governments and Traditional Affairs, who will give a farewell address to the departing board.
It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here on a very, very special occasion, in honor of an incoming and outgoing body that really has contributed, and no doubt will contribute very, very significantly to the ongoing development of our democracy. In his State of the Nation address, the President outlined the progress that we've made over the past 20 years of our democracy, and in particular the past 5 years. And he said that we have a good story to tell as South Africans. And I think one of those good stories that we have to tell about the past 20 years of our democracy is the story of the Municipal Demarcation Board. The board demonstrated its independence, it demonstrated its fidelity to the Constitution and the law in terms of which it executed its task, and in carrying out its task, it made a significant contribution to start rectifying one of the biggest challenges remaining with us, even after 20 years of phenomenal change, and that is the whole question of the spatial transformation of our society in a manner that sought to enhance maximum public participation. And I think that is something that the incoming board would need to build on and take even further. The board did that through its extended boundaries, powers and functions committee that kept contact with major stakeholders on an ongoing basis, and that benefited from the involvement of SALGA, the IEC, COGTA, Stats SA, the Department of Rural Development, and also National Treasury. I think given the concern regarding the capacity of municipalities to deliver services efficiently and effectively, the board has very courageously put the debate on the functionality of our municipalities squarely on the agenda. And the capacity assessment reports the disestablishment and the amalgamations of municipalities have been a constant reminder to policy and decision makers that our system of local government is not yet functioning optimally, and therefore it can never be business as usual. But in addition to the capacities of municipalities to deliver, the MDB has also brought back the debate on the categorization of municipalities. And therefore it's proposed that the new board policymakers and interest groups in local government must take these debates forward until an optimal system is embedded in the demarcation policy to improve the local government system of our country. I think that's a task that is also spelt out very clearly in our National Development Plan, that we hope in the next 5 years after the elections will be starting to take our country forward to the future.
So, might I hand over to the able team at the back who will play for us the AV, and one at a time I would ask the board members, as your name is played and your AV is announced, to come up on stage and receive your gift from the Deputy Minister.
Under the leadership and stewardship of Mr. Mahlangu since 2009, the current board has been able to raise the public profile of the Municipal Demarcation Board as an independent body responsible for determination of municipal boundaries, delimitation of wards, and assessment of municipal capacity. The board was able to fulfill the role and mandate of the MDB. Further, the board members developed the MDB's analytical base, refocused its processes, while deepening its public engagement and expanding its stakeholder base. The combination of these factors has repositioned the board as a critical player in the spatial transformation of South Africa. We would like to take this opportunity to extend a heartfelt gratitude to all the members of the board for their dedication and commitment during their tenure, and for their instrumental contribution to South Africa towards a sustainable and viable system for defining boundaries for effective local government.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, to give us our keynote address for this evening, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage the Minister of the Department of Corporate Governance and Traditional Services. Please, would you give a warm round of applause to the Honourable Minister Senodi.
This handover process comes as we are preparing for another one that's coming after May 7. But it also comes just before we also celebrate 20 years of our freedom and reflect on the past 20 years and perhaps 14 years of truly democratic local government. The first cornerstone after the adoption of the Constitution and the White Paper on Local Government was the Demarcation Act. In that it was designed to reverse the old and bring about a different and new spaces in which people would live together without the discriminatory practices of the past. So demarcation is political. This is the message I want to suggest. And therefore sensitive. Because the board created independently, in other words, to act as an independent body, but its work is done to fulfill the work of overall government under very guided legislative and constitutional direction. The incoming board will have a lot to learn. The management of the transition between that you are going through now is absolutely crucial to ensure a smooth transition. And so it is in the management of those relationships that we have a very sound possibility for good governance.
QAV, let's have a look at the names, and please, when your name and face is shown, if you'd come up and receive your gift, shake the Minister's hand. I will also ask that we take a group picture.
Ms. Jane Tupana holds a master's degree in public administration and business leadership. She served government for 17 years as Chief Planner and Deputy Director in the Department of Land Affairs, and held several directorships for the Limpopo Department of Agriculture, the Land and Agrarian Reform, and the Farmer Settlement and Agribusiness Development. Ms. Tupana inspired innovative teams to develop strategies and models for cooperative governance that made land reform projects more sustainable. She is currently serving as chairperson of the Council for the Capricorn FET College. Mr. Ashraf Adam has a master's degree in town and regional planning with 23 years experience in integrated economic, environmental and spatial planning. He has cross-sectoral experience in transport, including the Integrated Rapid Transit System in Cape Town and the Gautrain. He has served on the South African Planning Institute and the African Planning Association. Mr. Adam is presently serving at the Drakensberg municipality and is on his second term as the Vice President for Southern Africa of the Commonwealth Association of Planners. Professor Isabel Konin is a legal academic who spent 32 years lecturing at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. She has served on a number of provincial boards such as the KwaZulu-Natal Rental Housing Tribunal and the Town and Regional Planning Commission. Professor Konin also served at national level and presently serves on the appeal board of the Southern African Council of Planners. On a municipal level, she is presently a non-executive director of the Durban Marine Theme Park. Mr. Lebina D. Totsetsi has a Master of Management degree in Local Governance and Development and over 30 years executive experience in strategic planning and management in provincial and local government. Mr. Totsetsi has extensive research experience in traditional leadership, community development and public participation and has served as a strategic director, chief operations officer and municipal manager. He currently consults at several universities as a facilitator in leadership and management courses for emerging, senior and executive managers in public service. Ms. Mpumi Mpofu has several degrees and extensive experience in town, urban and regional planning and local government management. Ms. Mpofu served as Directors General for the Departments of Defense, Transport and Housing and served directorships on the National Housing Board, the Gauteng Development Tribunal, the National Housing Finance Corporation and the National Home Builders Registration Council. She has also served as chairperson of the South African Housing Trust, the Mvelapanda Group Remuneration Committee and the United Nations International Civil Aviation Organization Group on Climate Change. Currently, Ms. Mpofu is the chairperson and non-executive director of the Johannesburg Market Board of Directors. Mr. Simpiwe Nzengwa is a developmental activist who holds an MBA and a master's degree in public administration. He has extensive experience in government, having worked within all three spheres, mainly in the areas of finance, policy development, capacity building, project management, monitoring and evaluation. Mr. Nzengwa has also worked in senior managerial roles within the private sector and has led several initiatives both nationally and internationally. Ms. Siobhan Wiggins has 24 years experience in the development sector. Originally a town planner, Ms. Wiggins has extensive executive and senior managerial experience in private business at NGO, national government department and provincial parastatal levels and as a board member on provincial and municipal level, resulting in a profound understanding of relevant developmental legislation and policies. Ms. Wiggins is currently the regional director at the Mvula Trust in Mpumalanga. Mr. Maruping Michael Wildebeers has a higher diploma in education and a master's degree in governance and political transformation. Mr. Wildebeers has served on the United Nations mission in the DRC for legislative and presidential elections. He has worked for the Electoral Commission since 1999, where he served as a voter education and conflict resolution facilitator, a voter education coordinator, a provincial coordinator for democracy education, and as an outreach manager, a position in which he is still currently active. Dr. Makhosi Busisiwe Khoza specializes in the application of quality management systems in a developmental local government environment. She has extensive experience at top management level in both the public and private sector. Dr. Khoza has served as Chief Executive Officer on the South African Local Government Association and the KwaZulu-Natal Local Government Association. She served as chairperson on the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature. Dr. Khoza is currently the president and chairwoman of the International Municipal Governance and Administration College. Ms. Maitsi Moki has a master's degree in human rights and democratization and has worked as a lecturer and researcher of law and international human, gender and reproductive and sexual health rights at several universities. She has also served on the committee of the South African Gender Commission. Ms. Moki is currently a senior lecturer in constitutional and fundamental rights at the Department of Public, Constitutional and International Law at the University of South Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, to give us a formal closing this evening, the Director General, Vusi Matonsela.
But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for a splendid evening on a Thursday, which is not often a day on which people hold functions of this kind. This is a Thursday of a special kind. Thank you very much.